Our mission was started in the slums of Akron, Ohio. Within 2 blocks were 22 places to buy liquor. The first night, 56 men slept on the floor. The mattress was newspaper with a songbook for a pillow. 17 beds were donated by friends. Men who were sober were given the beds. If they got drunk, we put them back on the floor. We tried to give them 3 meals a day. We gave clothing to the men and to the needy families. The mission had been in operation a few days. Soiled sheets were piling up. We carried them upstairs to the old washing machine. I said to one of the men, "Do you know anything about washing?" He said, "My mother always washed the sheets." I said, "Do you use hot or cold water?" Nobody knew. So I said we'd play it safe and use warm. We packed that machine with sheets. I said, "How much soap?" Nobody knew. I put in 6 heaping cups full. I plugged in the washer and pushed the handle. The agitator started up and made some of the prettiest suds you ever saw. I left the men to watch the machine. I said, "Call me in 2 hours. We'll see if they're clean." I went to the basement and tried to pray. I was 20 years old and green as grass, trying to work with these men. I had to preach that night. I heard someone rap on the door, which we always had left open to encourage the men to sit in the mission rather than in the bar. I thought he would try the knob and find out it was unlocked, so I kept on praying. He kept on knocking. I went upstairs, down through the chapel, looked through the glass door at the full-blooded Cherokee Indian. I said, "Come in, Cherokee." He was as mad as he could be. He had a butcher knife. He asked, "Is Raymond here?" I said, "What do you want Raymond for?" He answered that he was going to slit his throat. I said, "Oh, you wouldn't do that in church, would you?" He said, "I'd do it anywhere. Is he here?" He started past me. I figured I had to work quick. I reached over his shoulder, grabbed the knife by the back of the blade, jerked it out of his hand and threw it in a pile of songbooks on the table behind me. He made a swing. I ducked, caught his hand, got up behind his back, grabbed him by the collar and walked him outside. I said, "When you've cooled down, I'll give you back your knife." I slammed the door shut, locked it, and went back upstairs to pray for a message. Then I heard someone call, "Come quick, come quick." I ran up the 2 flights of stairs and there were 2 men holding the lid on the washer. One said, "The suds keep pushing the lid off." We dragged the machine over to the shower, turned on the water, and rinsed the sheets. Not a conventional method, but it worked. It was a foggy, rainy day, so we strung up lines on the top floor. I told the fellows to stay and blow on the sheets, and I would go back and pray. I heard someone at the door. I thought, "That's Cherokee. He can't be cooled off yet. I'll just let him knock." Someone said, "This is the police." That changed the story, so I went upstairs, down through the chapel, and opened the door. There stood 2 policemen and a big crowd. I said, "May I help you, officer?" He said, "We just wanted to make sure you were okay. Cherokee came up to one of the bars and said he got in a fight with you and cut you up in little pieces." I said, "Oh, he's mad because I took his knife away from him. I'll go get it for you." He said, "We don't want his knife. We just wanted to make sure you were all right." And they were gone. The next thing I knew, it was time for church. There I was on the platform. No message, wet sheets, no food for the men, and nobody to help. The devil said, "Boy, have you got it hard." He's a professional sympathizer. I got a songbook and found a song. I thought I could sing without music. Halfway through one verse I said, "Whoa!" Probably you've never sung a cappella with 60 drunks. Half a verse was enough. I said, "I don't believe we'll sing tonight." I wondered what I would do next when the door opened and a woman came in. They called her Annie. She was over 6 feet tall, about 70 years old, weighed perhaps 90 pounds, had 1 tooth, and wore a miniskirt. Her hair was all messed up and she was drunk. She began to sing and dance in the aisle of the chapel. The men started clapping their hands, stamping their feet, and sang right with her, right on key. I couldn't get 5 of them to sing the same verse. She had all of them singing the same song. She went to the piano, sat down, and began to play. She was really talented. I listened to the words and walked over to her and said, "Thank you, Annie. You can quit now." She kept right on. I grabbed the piano bench with her on it. I tried to carry her out. She pulled my hair and tried to bite me with that one tooth. I got outside and locked the door. She wouldn't give me back the bench, so I'd let her keep it. I got back behind the pulpit and the devil said, "This is sacrilegious." He's not only sympathetic, he's also very religious. I thought, I don't have a message. What am I going to do? The devil said, the sensible thing, everything considered, is to just quit. He's very sensible. I grabbed the Bible and said, "Lord, if you've got a message for me, you better give it to me quick." My Bible fell open to one of the parables. I thought I could tell the story. I was ready to take my text when I heard a rap at the side door. I thought he would probably knock for 15 minutes, so I opened the door. There stood a man in a suit. He said, "May I help you?" I said, "What can I do for you?" He said, "My wife is a Christian. I woke up this morning and she was getting out of bed. I asked her where she was going and she said, 'God told me to do something.' Saturday is my day off, so I visited some friends. When I came home this evening, she had food all over the house. I said, 'Woman, what are you doing?' She said, 'You wouldn't understand.' At 5 o'clock, she started pacing the floor and praying, 'Lord, I know you told me to fix all this food. What am I going to do with it?' He said I was so mad. I was walking behind her. I said, 'You finally did it. You've gone over the hill. I knew you would the way you've been going after this religion. Look at all this waste with heathens starving.' Then I said, 'Why don't you feed it to a bunch of drunks?' She said, 'That's just what God wants me to do. There's a new mission opened up in town. Call them on the phone.' He said, 'We tried to call you, but you didn't have a phone. Now I've got all this food in the trunk of my car. Do you want it?' Of course we did. I got a couple of sober fellows to carry it to the basement. I preached a 15-minute message and 12 men came to the altar. Just then a stranger walked in and handed me a $20 bill. I turned to one of the honest men and said, 'Will you get this bill changed into dimes and get those sheets dried?' While he went back to dry the sheets, we had one of the best meals we ever had. We had a message, 12 men at the altar, dry sheets, a good meal, and a whole pocket full of money left over. God said, 'Is there anything too hard for me?'